At the outset, I thank organizers for inviting me over here to participate in this interesting debate. So let's start. Arvind has presented well, and I'll see what we can do. Okay. Now we will not go into the history. I think all of you know, but if we have to say, it started with laparoscopic cystectomy with hepaticojejunostomy in 94, and then later on the hepaticoduodenostomy was started. There are advantages of laparoscopy surgery, same advantages are there. Now, drawback of hepaticoduodenostomy, everything good Arvind has presented. The anastomotic leak. Why? Because the anastomosis at hepaticoduodenal site is under tension. Many times we want to go away from the pylorus. So the surgeon has that additional stress. The second problem is duodenogastric reflux, which can give rise to gastritis, esophagitis, cellular proliferation, and carcinoma. Then there is higher incidence of cholangitis due to reflux of the duodenal content into the bile duct, and which can lead to the stricture. Cholangiocarcinoma, stone formation. So all these are the problems with the hepaticoduodenostomy. Now, anastomotic leak. It can lead to peritonitis. We need to keep the patient fasting till it is healed. Often you have to put the patient on parenteral nutrition. It is stressful to the surgeon. Those who are doing hepaticoduodenostomy over here, and if it leaks, everyone knows it's stressful. When it will lead into peritonitis, you don't know. Sometimes the re-exploration is required with conversion to hepaticojejunostomy. So salvage procedure for hepaticoduodenostomy is hepaticojejunostomy. Then why only do it primarily when you know that that's the salvage? The anastomotic stricture, it is thought to be secondary to cholangitis, and cholangitis is secondary to reflux of duodenal contents into the bile ducts. And this is one of the last study where they presented about incidence of 12.5% at the age of, after 2 years, and it can even increase after that. Then very important is the duodenogastric reflux. There are huge articles, even adults and even in children, and we are trying to just ignore that when we are doing hepaticoduodenostomy. What it is, alkaline bile from duodenum refluxes into the stomach, and it leads to alkaline gastritis and esophagitis, which is resistant to even antacids and PPI. And this is one of the HIDA scan. If you see after hepaticoduodenostomy, how the hotspot has gone into the stomach. And now the another problem is, if you are doing early studies of HIDA or any other thing, you may not detect DGR, but as post-op period increases, something which is obtuse can become acute, and the chances of DGR will keep on increasing as you follow up the patient more and more. Complication and consequences of DGR, it creates irritation and inflammation of the gastric mucosa due to combination of hydrochloric acid. I want to tell a little bit about DGR because everybody needs to understand what exactly it is. With reflux of composition, which gives rise to extremely negative effect on the mucosa, also known as reflux gastritis, mixed gastritis, etc., etc. And complications, gastroesophageal reflux disease, erosive gastritis, ulceration of the mucosa of the pyloric and antral part of the stomach, narrowing of the esophagus, and metaplasia of its mucosa with development of Barrett's esophagus, which increases the risk of development of the cancer, which can be in the stomach as well as esophagus. Now, the cancer is not going to happen in 1 year. It will happen after 20, 30, 40 years. So DGR today, we may say it is nothing is there. After 40 years, we may come to know that there are high chances of getting this kind of malignancy. These are the ways one can diagnose by doing HIDA, gastroscopy, and Bilitech device. So a lot of research has been done on this DGR. And the medical treatment is also been described, but often it does not work. And when it does not work, the medical treatment, there are the surgeries which have been advocated. So DGR you can't take lightly. There are duodenal switch operation, roux bypass, etc., etc. We'll go through some of the studies which are published. So this is one of the article comparing HJ versus HD. Very interesting. If you see the chances of mortality in hepaticoduodenostomy, the 2 patients died. I don't think any one of us wants to see the mortality. The one died because of cholangitis and another patient died of the anastomotic leak. Though there were anastomotic leak were there in 3 patients out of 68, one of them died. Then there are other complications which have been written, cholangitis, pancreatitis, etc. Ileus, obviously the ileus will be little more in HJ compared to HD, but if you can avoid the problem of DGR, I think it is worth having a couple of days of ileus. This is another paper which is reported by Hamada. Now they did 25 hepaticoduodenostomy. Of that, 8 patients lost to follow-up. The remaining 17 were studies. Now this is a long-term study after 10, 15, 20 years. And all of them had DGR. And 14 were symptomatic. Out of 17, 14 were symptomatic. 9 had severe. And 2 were already operated for stricture. And 7 others underwent revision by doing hepaticojejunostomy. This is another paper which compared between HJ and HD, and the inference, the complication rate was quite high, 33%, and some of them needed revision. Now Liam, he has the largest experience. Arvind has already given the part of that, but what he is doing at present, he is doing single incision HJ, not HD. I could not get the study, but the personal communication, he has gone away from HD to HJ by doing single incision laparoscopically. Now, incidence of obstruction, post-op obstruction, if you are doing with laparoscopy, either you can reduce the chances of adhesive obstruction, even with HJ. And the second important part is that when you do study for DGR in first 1 or 2 years, it may come negative, but as the post-op period increases, and if you do DGR after study after 10, 15 years, it can be very high. And this is a paper which I have to say because it is from Lucknow, and they said that HJ is the gold standard. This is another paper from Bombay. Again, they had 1 patient which had a leak, needed re-exploration, and 2 patients had prolonged serous drainage, which we don't know whether it was anything with bile or not. So the anastomotic leaks are really a problem when you do HJ. Even HJ, when you do HJ, there can be anastomotic leak, but it is less stressful. It is a stressful, but less stressful. So drawback of hepaticojejunostomy, as mentioned by Arvind also, it takes little longer time. I don't think 1 hour spending extra for 1 more anastomosis makes life any difficult. If I can save the misery of complication of HD, I think it is worth it. There are 2 anastomosis, and that's why it takes a little longer. There is higher incidence of post-op bowel obstruction, but that can be reduced if you do it laparoscopically. The only issue may be considered is that HJ is difficult to access like doing endoscopically. But if we do a meticulous wide anastomosis, chances of cholangitis stricture stone formation will be less. Thank you. Thank you.